So yeah, let's start today. So today topic is about namespaces. So we'll discuss about what is namespace and what is the use of them. And yeah, so you might have observed multiple times I used to type -n command. Let me show you. You might have tried sometimes when I try to get pod, I type this -n. Even in yesterday's class also for English. Sorry. I used to type this. So what is this? I mean, what is this -n and what is this get parts? You know it already, correct? So you know what is get parts and okay, filter the parts and everything. But what is -n? That we'll see today. So what is that? So what happens here is these are called namespaces. See, these are called namespaces. In Docker also we have the similar concept namespaces for isolation purpose, but we don't see it directly because it's part of kernel feature. But here we have an option to use these namespaces. But what are these? To keep it simple, namespaces are like it's like we have one cluster, correct? One Kubernetes cluster is there. We are dividing the cluster virtually, not physically. I mean, not physically, we're not dividing the cluster. It's not possible. Virtually, we are dividing the cluster, you know, so that we can use this cluster for multiple use cases. It can be for multiple teams, multiple users, or multiple applications. You know, so like this, usually we use the namespace. Let's say in my company I have 5 teams. I don't create 5 clusters. No, here we're just using the free one, I mean open source one. But generally we don't use these. Right? I told you, right? I mean they'll be using some AWS cluster. That also will come later. But no, so what will happen is like multiple teams uses the same cluster, and let's say multiple applications also there, obviously. So multiple teams, multiple apps. So multiple apps will use the same cluster. So but what, no, of course we can use the cluster, okay, but what is the use of this namespace is it's a way of organizing the cluster for these multiple teams. So it's way of organizing it. So what we are doing is we have a cluster, we're dividing into smaller parts. Let's say 5 parts, something like that. Each part, each 5 groups or 5 parts, generally, and we are giving those to each application or each team. Yeah, use this one. Whatever your applications or parts will deploy in this namespace, and a team B use this namespace, deploy whatever in here. So it's like organizing the cluster so that we maintain the isolation between the applications, between the teams, and we're organizing properly that so that they don't overlap each other. So let's say a simple scenario I would say like we have only one namespace. By default there is a namespace called default. The name itself is default. If I type without any -n something, This is namespace specifically we are specifying. This is some name, forget it. But if you see, if you don't specify anything -n, it will go to default namespace. No resources found in default namespace. Let's say that's the only namespace here we have currently. Every team is using the same thing. And unexpectedly, team A have an application called test. Team B also have application called test. Will it work in the same namespace? No. It will say, hey, application test already exists. You can't deploy that again. So team B have an issue now. I want to use the name of this application, which it's a small scenario, but it's a generic kind of example I'm trying to say. So at the time, what you have to do, you can't do anything. Someone has to change their name and deploy it. Let's say if there are two namespaces, application team B have their own namespace, they can deploy with some any name. Team A have their own namespace, they can deploy with any name. There is no overlapping here. There is no conflicts here with the names because let's say test right, team A, team B, test application running here and here also. Default namespace, dev namespace, or QA something. These are isolated. Namespaces. So you can run anything here. Same name can be application can be run here, can be run here, can be run here. So there is no issue. So we are managing the cluster for multiple teams to use. Make sure that multiple teams or applications using the cluster efficiently. So with these namespaces, we are providing that for them. So for each and everywhere it's common. For each and every application, for each and every team, we create a namespace. We give it to them within the cluster, same cluster only. But just we are virtually dividing the cluster. Virtually dividing. Not really dividing it. Since namespace provides isolation for us, we're just saying virtually dividing the cluster into smaller parts by using the namespace. And the namespace, developers will use, whoever is working on their team, so they'll be using it to deploy their applications and everything. So what we do is we control it. We create namespaces, we delete them. There is nothing to manage, but we use them. And namespaces have an advantage, we can restrict, let's say, in a default namespace, we can put a restriction called resource quotas. What happens example, you can set a resource quota for 5 pods. It means maximum 5 pods can run in this namespace. If you're trying to create a 6th pod, it will throw error, hey, you cross the limit. Or CPU memory limits also we can set for each and every namespace. That is also there. So we'll see this today. So if you get it, what is namespace? We are creating a namespace to organize our cluster. So that multiple teams, multiple projects can able to use that same cluster while still maintaining the isolation. Because each and every namespace is isolated completely, no overlapping things. It won't overlap again. Some people say it's like dividing the cluster, virtually dividing the cluster so that multiple teams can use it. All are same. Definition is same. There is no issue with that. So, is it clear? So here in the command what I'm running -n means namespace. First, let's see what namespaces are there. kubectl get ns. ns means namespace. See, so many are there. This is default, which we generally deploy our parts and everywhere as of now. So this is Ingress Nginx. Yesterday we tried Ingress controller, right? We set up these things, Ingress controller. These are running here in Ingress. See, 23 hours yesterday. See, key flannel. This is a networking component, CNI network. When I think at the time of cluster we set up this. So those pods will be running here. Cube node leaves, I think there is nothing here. It's a blank, empty thing, empty namespace. Sorry. Similarly, cube public also will be empty. And this is cube system. This is where all our cluster components will be run. Sorry, like these components, right? Where which is responsible for our cluster running, like etcd, API server, scheduler, controller manager. All this will be running here. Sorry. So these are the default namespaces. Sorry. Oh my God. Just give me a minute. Yeah, that's fine. So these are all by default available namespace. I mean, I didn't create it. Even this ingress one, when we deploy the ingress controller, I mean yesterday, the namespace will be automatically created. So we don't do any creation. We will be creating whenever we require. So now let's say how to check the resources and all these things. Resources means nothing but pods, deployments, or things, whatever it is. If you just simply type kubectl git pods, all you have to do add is -n, sorry, n, the namespace, any namespace. Let's say this one, kube system. See, kube proxy controller replic more DLC. That's how. -n maybe kube public. Nothing. I told you it's a blank. Cube node leaves. Nothing. Cube plural tiles. Some parts, two parts are on it. See, English and Unix we have seen here. And if you don't specify any namespace when you are executing any command, it will go to default namespace. Default. So like this. You can create your own namespace. How to create? Either through manifest file or through command. The command is like kubectl create ns, I mean namespace slash what is the name you want? Maybe test namespace. Oh, wait. This command won't work now. See, ns space. See? Namespace test is created. How to check? Kubectl get ns. See test. And if you can simply use this like this get pods as an test. If of course there will be nothing here. See? There is a command called kubectl get all. What it will show is whatever running in the namespace, whatever we define, it will show you everything inside that. I just simply get all, I didn't mention any namespace name, so whatever running in the default namespace it gave you. Let's say get all -n ingress. So whatever running here, see in this ingress parts are running, services, deployment, application, jobs. This I haven't seen this, but yeah, that's okay. So whatever running within the namespace, it will show you all these things. If you see get all, you know how to filter service, deployment, application, all these things. So that's how you use the namespace. I mean, so far we just see creation. You can create the manifest also. Simple, ms create a manifest file or use the existing one. I told you, right? Hyphen, hyphen, hyphen in between the services. So API version v1 kind namespace metadata. What is the name of the namespace? Let's say prod example. That's it. That's it. Apply it. Sorry. Create it. kubectl get ns. See, the prod is here. See, like that you create it. Got it? If you want to delete it, delete. Like this way you can delete, or through command also. Let it delete. Through kubectl delete ns test. So if you delete it, what happens is, you know, whatever the resources present in this namespaces will be also deleted. We'll see that slowly. Let's say in the test namespace, I have two pods running, and if you delete the test namespace, those two pods also will be deleted. Got it? So this is how we'll just create and delete a namespace and how to see it. Now, how to run our resources in this namespace? Anything, pods, deployments, anything. How to do it? Very simple. Just open any file. I think I have a deployment file. Example. So this is my file, right? Just simply go here, metadata below name, namespace. What is the namespace name? Test like this. That's it. Now this will deploy in a test namespace. This is deployment, test deploy. If you don't specify any namespace, obviously default. So let's save it. kubectl apply will throw error because test namespace are deleted already. There is no test namespace. That's okay. See, kubectl create ns test. Let's try. See, created. If you see kubectl get pods, nothing will come because we haven't created the pods in default namespace. Where we created test namespace. See, the pods are running. Kubectl get all try. It will show you deployments. Since we created deployment. See, yeah, this is all pods, replica set, and deployment. Of course, we created deploy. It will create replica set. It will create pods. All these things. Create a service. Same thing. Go here. Namespace. And of course, this will we are not mentioning anything here because this will create in default namespace. This will create in test namespace. Let's save it. kubectl apply -f svc. Done. See, a service created. Test svc. See, as simple as it. Let's say now we'll create one more namespace. Prod. Let's deploy something else in the prod. I'm deploying HTTPD. That's it. No need to change anything. Just need to change this. Apply -f HTTPD. Sorry, my bad. It's created. Where it's created? In prod namespace, correct? Sorry. See, HTTPD is running. Now let's open service. This is the service for HTTPD. Let's go come here, add a namespace prod. Save it. Apply. You know this already. If you observe, there are two services mentioned in the file, right? One is already created, that's why it's showing unchanged. One is not created, so created. Like that. So kubectl get all. Oh, wait. Prod. See, service is here. Like that. So like that, we just use the namespace. So now, let's say, earlier we have seen, how to communicate with the pods, right? Pods, one-to-one pods. From one pod to another pod, obviously, we have seen, right? But that is in a single namespace. Single namespace, yeah, it's okay by default, we can connect. But now, we are in different namespaces, correct? Now, how do we communicate? Let's see that. Maybe let's go to HTTPD pod and we'll connect to Nginx pod, which is in a different namespace. All you have to do is describe it. Test if you see the name. Okay. Now what I'll do is sorry, my bad. Let's go inside the mm, HTTPD pod. kubectl exec90. Sorry, first get pod, so I don't know the name. See, -n is mandatory if you want to access it. This is the name. Copy. Slash. Mandatory -n prod because the pod exists in that namespace. If you don't mention it, you say not found. Oh, sorry, no, this is not found. Oh, I think we are inside the pod. Kernel not there. Come on. APK also not there. This is the problem. Let's create one more pod here. Maybe Ubuntu in this namespace and try with that one. I mean, same thing, but here without curl we can't test it. That is not possible. So you got what I'm saying. That's why what we will be doing is yes, that's okay. Let me create it. kubectl create pod. I forgot the command. That's why. Let me think about it. Oh yeah, sorry. I can simply write a manifest file. namespace I'll write in creating in pod because the Nginx pod is in test namespace, right? So I'll be creating this pod in prod namespace because that's where we can able to test it, the communication between different pods. Unknown flag, spelling, pod created from HTC. What to do? It's running. Let me log in. Wait. Installing the packages which are required. Let it install. Just a minute. Come on. Wait. Yeah, it'll take me some time. Why is it slow? Come on, load, man. You're waiting. Come on, why this is too slow? Let it once. That's okay. At least curl should be present. Come on, man. Let me just clear it. Curl is there. Not from. See, that's what we have to install the curl. We're waiting for that. But still, something. Some network issues blocking. Come on, Geo. Mm. It is taking too much time. Hmm. Just wasting time here. Come on, come on, come on. Can't even figure it or run it properly. Curl can't. Shit. See, if I don't specify a namespace, it says there is no resource. Or let me try like this. There is no pod Ubuntu not from because it's looking in default namespace. If I define this, it's deleting. I just want to show you the communication, but some city networks. Yeah. It's still deleting. Yeah, finally. Now what I had to do is, in order to test the communication, let me go here only. Without curl, it's difficult. We cannot test it. Even in Nginx pod, to test otherwise, there is no curl. So I just want to show you with curl, whether it's working or not. Let's try our, let's try this thing again. It's a time waste. Let me tell you, how to do it. Not there. It won't work until we update it. See, yeah, let me tell you how it's usually communicates. See, earlier, if we are in the same namespace, what will happen is we use like, the service name, right? Test-svc dot cluster, sorry, test-svc dot, I mean the service name dot service dot cluster dot local, or with the service IP address, we can able to communicate with the pods. Now we are in a different namespace. You know what happens here? Service name dot the namespace name will come here. Here the names ns the namespace name will come. So what is ns name here? Let's say test. If you are accessing the test SVC will test. So this will be the domain name in order to access the pod. I mean whatever the pods running here with the test SVC. In our case, Nginx. Or you can obviously use service IP if it is not working. If it says domain not resolving. Could be the DNS issue. So you can try with service IP always. That's what I want to show you. That's it. But yeah, it's not working. No, it's too slow. That's okay. You try this. Remember this. What you do is simply just curl http :// that's it. Try with this URL. If it is not working, try with the IP then. Okay. Yeah, that's one thing I wanted to show. And yeah, last thing today in the namespaces, I told you that resource quotas. Resource quotas will be creating for namespaces. But why we'll be creating them is we are putting some restrictions on a namespace. Mostly the usage of resources level only. Like how many pods maximum can be run within a namespace. How many pods maximum can be run within namespace, and how much memory maximum we can able to use overall. Let's say within the namespace, there is a test namespace where we gave 10 GB memory. So no matter how many parts we are running, the overall memory should not cross 10 GB like this. Same with CPU also. So we'll be defining that. So how to create that? Let me just resource quota something. API version kind ResourceQuotas. Metadata, obviously this name. What is the name? Test quota. What is the namespace? Test. Correct. Now, whatever the conditions we are giving, for limitations, this will be applied on the test namespace. How to give? Let's come to go here. Spec hard. Hard is like how we are using clear restriction line. It cannot be crossed. There is multiple things called hard and soft. Soft means even if it's crossed, it will allow. Hard, no, it's fixed. You cannot cross it. So like this. Within the hard pods, you define pods like this. How many pods maximum? 3. So the number should not be number of pods should not cross 3 in this namespace only. So currently 2 are running. If I try to create 2 more, one will create and one will throw error, obviously. And there is something called request.cpu. How much CPU we want? I think this mission have 2 CPU. So 2 CPU. It's fine. I'll explain what is it. Request.memory. Memory maybe 1G. It is too much, but yeah, 1G is fine. Limits.cpu. So request I'll give 1. Limits I'll give 2. I'll explain what are these. Limits.memory 2G. That's fine. So that's it. This is the file we generally apply the resource quota. Of course, you know what is parts. How many. This is the count number of parts. That's fine. Okay, CPU memory also you know it. CPU limitation and memory limitation we can keep it. But what is these two things? Request and limits. What is this? Let's talk about that. It's very simple. We'll be using the same concept at individual pod level also. That also we'll see today. So what's happening here is request and limits. These concepts are there. So we're limiting the resources for a pod. Here in this case namespace. What a request means? Request is when we create a namespace. Let's say this quota, this one CPU. One core and whatever the 1 GB will be assigned to the namespace after it's created. So without any question, after it's created, it will be assigned. So it's like the guaranteed amount of resources that will be received by namespace. Then what is the limits? Of course, this is the maximum limit. It will start with this obviously. So when you create a namespace, it will give this, okay, hey, namespace we just created and we have a resource quota. Take this one CPU and one GB memory because that's what the request is. And maximum is 2 CPU. Maximum, hey, your limit is about to cross, so like this. So requests and limits are like request, we're allocating by default. We're allocating by default to this namespace. Limits is, of course, this is the maximum limit that you can be able to use. So that's it. Here, these requests and limits we are applying for namespace. We can apply the same thing for pod also. That we'll see later. But for now, let's see here for namespace. Let's create the quota. kubectl apply hyphen f resource quota has created kubectl get rq. See nothing in default namespace. See, if you observe here, pods 2 by 3. 2 already running in the test. Let's create one more pod. Deploy. I'll increase to 3. Let's see. This is test namespace. You can see it. So let's apply. Yes. kubectl get po. Sorry. Hyphen n. Keep. Did I apply? Okay. Let's wait. Wait. Let me see the file. What I changed. Okay. Replicas 3 I kept. It is taking time. Sorry. Let's describe it. kubectl get deploy. Sorry. Get deploy. 2 by 3, but it's not created. Let's describe it. Scaled up. It's taking time. Yeah, it's taking too much time. I don't know why it's too slow today. So that's fine. See, 1 hour available. It's about to create. Let's wait. My network is so bad today. Let's say it got stuck. Okay. What? Yeah. Sorry. Still 2 are there. That's fine. Let's try to get it here with 4. Let's apply this also. Keep CPU apply. Deploy. It's still not deployed. It's taking time. Come on, man. See the time of working. This is all happen. But that's okay. It's time waste to do this. Yeah. But you get it right what I'm trying to say. I mean about the resource quota. So we are setting the limitations, at the namespace level, overall namespace level, not just individual pod. So overall namespace level, we are doing the limitations. So of course, request and limits. Request is the guaranteed amount of resources that we are giving to namespace, and the limits is maximum, maximum limit, obviously. So I don't need to tell this, I guess, but the limits always should, the limits value should be greater than request value always. So you know that. I mean, I'm just trying to say same thing. This is for namespace, right? The request and limits can also be applied at the pod level. Anything. Let's go here. So what we do is there is yeah individual container level will be having it. Let's say maybe after the image. So request. Sorry, first is resources. Resources request. Maybe memory 100 MB. That's fine, I guess. It should be inside this. And CPU 500. I mean half CPU we are giving here. This is request. I mean when you create a pod, this will be assigned automatically to your pod. I mean 100 MB will be given by default. Half CPU 500 MB will be given by default. Now we'll define the limits like this. What is the maximum memory limit? Maybe 500 MB. I think that's fine. Sorry, my bad. Let me write it. So the syntax is wrong. Resources. In the resources, we define request. In the request memory, of course, CPU and limits. What is the limit? Maybe 500 MB as I told you. Anything. I think I believe 200 also fine for this. CPU, one CPU maximum. Like this you can define or 1000, yeah, like this. See, that's it. So the limitations, requests and limits applied for this test container specifically, not for Tomcat, this container, test one container. Now, if you want to apply the same to this Tomcat container, just copy paste it simply. Come here, paste it. That's it. Done. So like this, you can specify the limitations for a pods. Why? I mean, why you need to specify? We just restricting the pod so that it won't overload the cluster. Of course, these numbers is not some random numbers. You shouldn't give some random numbers. You'll know that how much the pod is being used, how much memory is being used, on average how much CPU it is being used. Based on that only, you will give the value. You don't simply give the value directly. I mean, I'm just giving another example, but generally you don't do like that. So, got it? So first thing is about namespaces. Why namespaces, how to create them, use them, obviously. And communication is it's slow today, but I told you right how to try it. Watch the video again, try like that. It'll work, obviously. If any issues, let me know. It won't, probably. And next thing is resource quotas for namespaces. I mean, we are restricting resource quotas at the namespace level, like how many pods can be created within this namespace. Within this namespace only, if you want to create resource quota for another namespace, you have to do like that same thing. Sorry, let me just save it. Simply now you change it, apply it. So now what happens is -n test. Still it's still not created. It's see only one pod is running now, not two. That's how my network is. That's okay, don't worry. I just want to show you like the resources and limits whether they are applied or not. Blah 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 blah. These are all fine. We see here request and limits for Tomcat container. See, this is Tomcat. You can see here 8080 Tomcat. And go to a little above Nginx container. See the limitations. See, you can do like that. It will be applied, and it will follow this. Now imagine, let's say I told 500 MB, sorry, 200 MB maximum, right, for memory. What if 200 MB crossed? What will happen? What will happen if the memory, whatever the limitations we gave here, if they are crossed, please, the pod will get evicted. So it doesn't know what to do. It can't use more memory, more resources, and it can't recreate. So it will be in evicted state. You can simply delete that, will recreate the pod again. So these issues also happen if they cross the limits. That's why I'm telling you, make sure whatever the request limits you are giving should be, the value should be proper. The value should be, you know, okay with your application. It should be handled. So like that. So is it clear?
So is this something like partition, like as we said, given the resource code of one namespace,
This is,
now we are giving
yeah, this
the
is at the
request and
container
limit for
level,
the
not the
container.
namespace level. For individual container level, I'm giving inside this file. If you observe here, for each container, I'm giving. So this does not have to do with the namespace thing. Of course, uh, let's say namespace resource quota is created, maximum 1 GB. Maximum 1 GB can use within the pods. Now there is, if you want to have the resources and the request and limits for a container, you have to make sure the value is below 1 GB only, obviously. If you give 10 GB here, but the namespace test have only, 1 GB, limitation, the resource quota, then it won't work because this number is high. Priority is that one first because the pod is creating in a namespace, obviously. So
Okay.
namespace rules will be applied to the pod by default. Now that is one thing. That is what the resource quota, whatever we gave the request and limits for namespace level for each and every pod. Here, these are for individual pods. So out of, let's say, namespace quota is memory 10 GB, let's say as an example. 10 GB can be used by anything. Let's say it can be used by one pod also, right? I mean, based on their request. So that is also can be done. But here, what we are doing is specifically in that namespace, we have one pod called Nginx where we are simply assigning some memory out of 10 GB, use 500 MB. Remaining 9.5 GB can be used by any part. I don't care. So like that. So like that, we'll be using it. So we're just setting the limitations for a pod, and we can able to set the limitations for namespaces also, or namespace level, anything. You can use both, but make sure the values are, good for your application. So is it clear? So
Yes.
I couldn't show the communication between the namespaces, but you do try watching the video. I showed you right the kernel, how the format should be, but try with that. I'll upload that video now. So, and yeah, do practice with request and limits, resource quotas as well. Request and limits you can use anytime. No, there is no issue. We'll be using more of this in future also. There will be multiple concepts are there, but that's okay for now. So that's about namespaces. That's about request and limits, the resources. Let's meet tomorrow morning. So any doubts so far? I know it is too slow today, but the network is bad. I don't know why. Yeah, but I'll see it. Any doubts so far?
Not.
So yeah, that's okay. If nothing, let's meet tomorrow same time. And again, I'm telling you, please be at least by 7:05. Okay, we have to start by 7:05. Today we started at 7:10, so not a good thing. See now already 8 o'clock. I know you might go to work. Okay, time waste, right? So make sure. Okay. Of course, I know I also came little 2-3 minutes late today, but at least try to be at 7:05. 5 minutes buffer time. You log in. I know you'll be little sleepy, but now we can start. Okay. So yeah, all right. Yeah. Bye. Bye everyone.
Okay.
Let's meet tomorrow sometime. And do practice. I'm telling you again. If you don't practice, you don't remember any of this. Um, that's for sure. For
Sure.
everyone, not just specific. for everyone. Yeah, let
Yeah,
me.
bro, about the
Hmm.
token list.